I'm Jim Collison, and live from Omaha, Nebraska, in the Gallup offices in Singapore. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on October 13th, 2014. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions during this webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available right below the main video window for you. If you'd like to log into that, that's the best way to get questions in. If you have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for either small, medium, or large organizations, you can also contact us. Just send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, or on the contact page right there at coaching.gallup.com. And don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. Super easy. It's just gallupstrengthscenter.com for all your coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video in both streaming or now downloadable audio for offline listening, and we're this close to being on iTunes here coming up. You can find that all out at the coach's site, coaching.gallup.com. Sarv Atri is our host today. He works as a strengths evangelist there in the Singapore office. And Sarv, it is great to see you. It seems like forever, and welcome back to another Call to Coach.
Thank you so much, Jim. Yes, it seems forever already. We've been busy evangelizing strengths in the Asia-Pacific region. So, working with corporates, working with a lot of coaches, and I've seen so many exciting things happening in the region. A lot of campuses becoming strength-based, organization becoming strength-based, and just over the course of the next few weeks, we are seeing we're doing Gallup. We're doing a massive event for an organization, a large workshop for over 500 people around strength. So we are really excited of evangelizing strength. But today's all about our special guest today, Roy Lim. It is a privilege to host him. Roy, he went through one of our first courses in Singapore in November, and he was the first amongst that group of people who went through the course to become certified. So, Roy essentially is a founder of an organization called Thrive Now, which he started with 3 other members. All of them have now become Gallup certified. So it's a whole cohort of Gallup certified strengths coaches who have started Thrive Now. To define Roy, I would say one word that defines him is growth. And growth of individuals, growth of leaders, growth of managers, and growth of teams. He is a big believer in happiness and big believer in empowering people through the lens of strengths. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Roy. Roy, welcome to the session, and we'd love to hear about how did you start off on your strengths journey, starting with your top 5.
Hi, my name is Roy. Thank you, Sarah. My top 5 themes are learner, developer, empathy, relator, and input. How did I start on strengths journey? That's interesting because it's a testimony of my input theme. I stumbled upon an email that led me to a website, and the website was one of the Gallup coaches in Singapore, and from there I found it brought me to Gallup Strength Finder, and then the rest is history. Basically, I attended the course, and I think that the 5 days in Gallup was mind-blowing. We had wanted to create a course on self-development, and we found that anchoring it on strengths was just perfect for us. We were able to not just create awareness, but specific awareness that people can use to go forward, and that was just perfect.
Great, thank you, Roy. Also, we were chatting earlier about some of the tips and techniques that you use to coach teams, and you work with a lot of teams across the region. We've seen that you're one of the largest buyers of strengths here, working with a lot of people. So tell us more about, how do you, focus on growth of individuals through the lens of strengths with teams?
Okay, we run a 3-day workshop. We use a experiential process to bring strengths across. Okay, for instance, we use games. The games could be as simple as a obstacle course, getting people across, and they are allowed to play the game like any other games, but thereafter, we would go through, we would debrief them, basically ask them what came up for them, what were the emotions, what was the learning, how did they feel, what themes did they use, and a lot of times we would relate that back to their top 5, and sometimes they don't realize that we had a participant which was strategic, and that showed up frequently in the way she played the game. Unfortunately, when she saw the top 5, she couldn't connect with her strategic theme, and it took a while for us and the rest of the participants to actually point out to her that this is what you did, that was strategic, this is what you did, that was strategic. So it was just brilliant that through the behaviors in the games, the themes actually showed up, and we actually then enable her to name it and then claim it.
That's a very interesting twist, so you use games to kind of get strengths out of people. I love games. So tell me a little bit more about, like you said, the obstacle course is like a race that you make these people do. What kind of games, besides that you kind of utilize to get the strengths out of people? And also, I'd love to hear a particular story of an individual that may have gone through this journey of playing this game and how you help them grow in the areas of their strengths.
Okay, the games could vary from obstacle courses, could be a business trading game, it could vary from a construction game, anything that basically requires them to participate as a group. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, some of the games are more realistic. We try to put it towards the business context. For instance, if it's an entrepreneurship team that does business, we will do a business-related game, some form of trading. If it's just team building, something more physical, like building some widget and having them behave, see the behavior throughout the process. So we basically use the games to bring up behavior, and we found that is very effective because the people then can go back immediately to see their behavior. We had a participant who was had a maximizer theme throughout the whole 3 days. That theme came up frequently, and at one point she realized that she took it home, and as a parent she was a maximizer too. She had 3 daughters, one of which plays several musical instruments, and for her that was just not great because the child wasn't doing well in her language. And so the participant was not happy that the child wasn't doing well, because she as a child, the participant had done very well on her language. So she realized that she took maximizer home and imposed that expectation on her child as well. So it was brilliant, because the minute she got it that it was a theme at play at home, creating a lot of stress for her child, she could just decide to let it go and say, well, it's on an overdrive now, it's time to put it to rest. So that was just a brilliant aha moment for her, and it's like a huge shift the minute she got the awareness.
I love what you said around, how this lady went back home, took her strengths with her, right? And that's what we are. We are not strengths in a workplace or in a home place. We are all about as individuals, and it all plays out in our day-to-day life. For people who are watching this, it'll be interesting to know that we have our book coming out towards the end of the year, hopefully, Jim, Strength-Based Parenting. And that'll be interesting to see how strengths play out at a home front as well as parents. So, Jim, you have something to say there?
Yeah, I don't have a definite date, but we are definitely, that's in the works and almost to print. So we're hoping for an end of the year release for strength-based parenting, as well as some advanced strengths coming up from Kurt Liesfeld. That should be out here in the next month or so. Some exciting books coming out from Gallup.
Excellent. So, sorry, get back to you on that, Roy. So, tell us more about, what other themes have you kind of worked really well with or struggled with, from your own perspective while coaching or while training these teams?
Uh, for me, I think the who and communication themes are a bit more of a challenge, in the sense that they are low for me. So I tend to stumble on my words more frequently. I basically use my learner, my input to overcome that. For instance, when I do public speaking, I make sure I know the content well, and once I'm able to internalize the content, then public speaking isn't so frightening. As opposed, I can't speak off the cuff, so I have to learn and use my knowledge basically to overcome the woo factor and the communication.
And that's a
In
great
fact,
point. I'm sorry, carry on.
Yeah, in fact, I'm basically taking a master's degree in applied psychology now because I have a basic accounting degree, which is totally different from human behavior psychology. And so my learning theme comes up actually because I decided to go for the master's to learn how to be a better coach. And I found that, wow, psychology works brilliantly with coaching.
And how do you see that translate into the coaching that you do? Remember we were having this conversation around earlier around that in Asia people are told what to do. So how do you manage that? Because we've been growing up all this while. How do you help them see that shift in thinking?
A lot of it is about, I think, cognitive behavioral. I think strengths is basically a positive psychology approach to humans. Sometimes the problems we have, like growing up being told that we are not good enough, we should fix our weakness. We learn those behaviors, and that is behaviorism. So with those behaviors being learned, they become beliefs and they frame our mindset. So it is teaching and telling the participants that you have learned these, it is okay to unlearn them. It is not cast in stone for you, and that it is okay to let it go, and then moved from being imperfect, incomplete, to being complete, to be a great person simply because you have a unique strength, a unique theme, and not just focus on what you don't have. I think it is a process of unlearning the past and letting go. It is also a choice about letting what they have learned in the past go. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time. Sometimes it's a bit faster. We had a participant who was very fixated on being disciplined. He said, well, I go to the gym. I go to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I do that 5 days a week. So he says, I want to be just as disciplined to go to the gym. So we said, why do you need? And his discipline was at the bottom of his 34. So we had to tell him, why do you have to? He was so fixated. So when we said that, well, to be disciplined, you need routine, you need life. And for me, my discipline is just as bad. I think it's in the high 20s. So I said, hey, I do the same thing, but I don't use discipline. I use something else. So for him, his theme was restorative. So we said, why don't you look at you are restoring your health as opposed to you need discipline to go to the gym. So that was a shift for him. And I think he's doing well now.
I love the shift in thinking of helping them see from a time management discipline perspective to helping them see restoring your health. I think that my fiance's got restorative high. I'm going to help her see that through too. So excellent. So Roy, tell us more about you've been into a coaching business, and being an entrepreneur, setting up your own thing. what tips do you have for people who are doing their own coaching business, and how do you kind of grow your organization?
Okay. At this point, we have ran our strengths quotient course for, I think we just completed our 5th round this weekend. By far, we have been growing by word of mouth, and a lot of our participants basically introduce their friends and colleagues and business associates to us. And we found that when you truly add value to them, when they really get value from the program, they will tell people, they would tell their friends, they will help you publicize. Basically, we didn't really need to advertise for participants. We just, I think, if you truly want your participants to grow, you truly believe that they are complete and that they can be empowered to achieve greatness in their lives, and they get it, they will sell your program for you.
So how do you differentiate with other coaching organization that may out be there? How do you kind of position your organization thrive now in the market?
We're basically positioning ourselves as a strengths development coaching business. We are focusing on strengths because I strongly believe that we need strengths gives us a perfect platform to grow ourselves. It's not about in some coaching platforms you learn, okay, you learn a bunch of tools. What happens if those what happens when you run out of tools? Strengths gives us a ability to regenerate ourselves. Basically, when you go back to the foundation, what do you have? An individual only has his strengths, and so from there they can create and recreate and create all the time, as opposed to depend on the coach for regeneration, for recreation. They can at some point outgrow the coach. I think coaching is not about hand-holding the participant for the rest of their lives, but to bring them to a space where they are able to generate their own lives and generate their own results.
Perfect. Jim, any coach question that you have from your side?
Yeah, no, we haven't had anybody in the chat room there. I am intrigued though, Roy, back to what you said in the very beginning about kind of discovering or kind of strength spotting through games. And that's a topic. I've been doing a lot of call to coaches, and I have not heard anyone mention that. Can you talk a little bit more specifically what you've seen and maybe an instance where that has really come out? Because we do that, we kind of do that with our children in our child development center here at Gallup on the riverfront, where the teachers attempt to do some strength spotting with that. Tell me a little bit more about what you've seen with these games. That kind of intrigues me.
I think for adults it's easier because we get them to talk about their thought process, what goes through their mind, how do they arrive. For instance, if there's the game is about building a structure. What is the thought process in arriving at that structure? How did they build? Who contributed? What areas they focus on? Who was the leader? Who was the strategizer? Who was the input fella? Who gave the ideas? So from seeing the roles of the participants, we can then identify, okay, what are the strengths that they could possibly have used? What are the themes that they could possibly have used in the game? And then have them identify it and claim it.
Have you found any particular game to work better than others for that type of spotting? Have you found anything in there where you're like, oh, this one works every time? And if I was someone who was interested in doing something like this, could you give me any advice on how I might get started going about this?
We play a variety of games. I haven't found a game that it is not so much the game at the end of the day, but it is about the participants. It is about paying attention to their behavior, what they do, how it is about being very present when they play the game. It's about observing them. So the game really doesn't matter what the game is. It is not about the game that the strengths come out, but it is about the individual. So if you observe the individual and see how they play it, you would be able to do it. It is not about, oh, it must be this game versus that game. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I just was wondering if there were, some activities have ways of drawing some things out. I think of, at Gallup on the campus, we're a very competitive group. And so whenever we do anything, we have this kind of saying, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, because everybody works so hard to win, and so
Yeah.
you see competition, or you see strategic, come out as people, sometimes we do games and they've had to even not release the rules up till about 10 minutes before we do the games, because people would strategize, in advance on how to win those. And so there were just kind of wondering if you had seen some things for coaches, who were thinking about doing this. Maybe they work with youth. I would think, have you seen this work differently with different age groups? Does it work better with adults than children? Is children really the best age, or teenagers? Have you seen that, or does it work kind of across the board?
Okay, we haven't done any children or teenagers. We primarily focus on adults. When you say about the rules, and okay, the way we do our games, we give very little rules. We allow absolute free play, so it allows people to be creative, how they think outside the box, who comes up with newer ideas, how do they beat the system. There are certain rules. There are a few rules to guide them, but beyond that, they can do anything they want, and that draws up their talents a lot more.
And Roy, how do you prepare going into these sessions? Because some of the games might require logistics, other things. So how do you go about looking at what games would work for what kind of sessions, or just your basic preparation?
Yeah, it's basic preparation work. Because for one of our programs, we run it the same game. We have been adding new games, but it takes about a week to prepare. So 1 week before our program, we will start getting the logistics, getting people to do up their profiles. That actually is a lot more tedious, because we have to get them to do their 3-4 weeks in advance, and allow time for them to complete it. So I think the game setup isn't difficult, because we do it indoor. We don't really do it outdoor. The participants, getting profile usually for us than the logistics of the game. We have our own training center, so in terms of physical location, it's all within our space, so we don't really need to move the props from our office to somewhere else.
Great. And from your perspective, any other coaches who are thinking about getting into strengths coaching as another way of, developing their coaching practice, what would your advice be?
I think certainly they should look at strengths. It gives an excellent tool. I think what I've discovered is knowing your strengths gives you the vocabulary. We have participants who bring their strengths profile home, have a discussion with their spouse. During our recent weekend, we had a couple, husband and wife team in the program, and the one of the spouse commented that she wished that she had the profile 20 years ago, so that she didn't have to go through some of the things she went through for the last 20 years. So I think it's a perfect tool for coaching. It is something that people need to know. We all grew up not having a manual. When we are born, we come naked. We don't bring anything with us. We don't know who we are. The strengths profile gives you a snapshot of who you are and what you can do with your life. I think coaches don't do justice to their clients. if they don't do strengths.
Wow.
Roy, can I go back for a second? You know, I didn't get a chance to interview you after the training, and oftentimes we do, we do these, I do these testimonials when they're done training, and you did that there in Singapore. We give you guys a kit of information that comes when you do the training. Anything in particular in that kit that you found most helpful in the way you're coaching and the things that you're doing? Because you come at this from kind of a unique angle. This is the first time I've really heard someone kind of tell this kind of story about how you're doing some of the coaching. Anything in that kit that so far you found? And when did you complete the training? How long ago was that?
I did that in November last year.
So almost a year ago. And so
Yes.
now a year later, can you tell us what's in that kit that you found most helpful or you've been using there?
I think the most useful part is the team grid of the kit. Even for us, when we do the games, we always prepare the team grid up front so that we know exactly where people are, what their gaps are. We also basically that's I think the most important piece of tool in the whole box. The rest of it is a lot of knowledge, a lot of things that you need to know about the themes and the profiles. But the team grid, I think, is a perfect tool when we do debrief. It gives us at a glance what people are, where they are. We actually created a grid whereby we add up the scores of the 4 domains to have a feel where the person, which domain is strongest for the individual, whether it's executing, influencing. So it's something that we added on to the existing grid that Gallup provided.
And so when you say you add that up, are you physically adding the numbers up, or how do you come to the score?
Yes, we physically add the 34 rankings up. So the higher the score, the weaker it is. The lower the score, the stronger it is.
So kind of like we call it a golf score at that point. You want the lower score is better.
Yes,
and
that's
stronger, right? In that
that's
case.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, very cool. No, I hadn't thought of doing that. So add those together by domain, and then you get kind of a ranking that way.
Yes. Yes. Actually, what Gallup has done with the new website is you can export out the themes, and from there you can create pivot tables and then automate that process, so you don't really need to bring out the calculator. The Excel spreadsheet will do it perfectly for you.
And so have you modified that Excel spreadsheet for your purposes to be able to do this then? Is that something you could share back with us at some point so other folks could download it and just put their themes, or does that do it automatically?
It's automatic. It's just a pivot table. It's a feature in Excel. You just need to create the pivot table and do a summation of the values. It will come up automatically.
Ah, very cool. Yeah. No, that's a very good way to use that. That team grid, by the way, is the number one. Whenever I ask that question, the team grid is the number one tool. And it's in the kit, but technically it's available online as well. So you don't have to. Anybody can use that. But we were just traveling. I was just at a university last week. And we came in, and the one of the instructors who we're talking to said, "Oh yeah, he was a leader in the organization. He said, "Oh, there's my team grid." And we turned around, and he had his team posted on the wall with the team grid up there, and that was pretty cool to go into an organization, first time at University of Florida, first time I had been there, and see a team grid up on the wall of his 6 team members. So it is a very powerful tool.
Perfect. Any final thoughts from your end, Jim or Roy? Any thoughts that you want to wrap up the session with?
I'm good. I'm just thankful that Gallup developed the strengths profile. I think when I first took the profile, I brought it back to my business partner and made him do his profile. And then we realized that because he is strong on his futurist theme, half the time he talks from the future, half the time I talk from Earth, and that basically was a wow, okay, now we can communicate. I know you're talking from the future. I just need to grab you and bring you back to earth. So I'm just thankful that there's this profile out there for people to use.
Great. Thank you so much, Roy. Yeah, Jim, over to you.
Bet, Roy. Those are great final words. We hear that often, and we hear it frequently, and people say, I'm just glad we have a framework. You know, we say that all the time. Working in relationships, we have a kind of a framework in which to talk where everybody's on equal footing, and no theme is a bad theme. And so that really helps people kind of come at this from a very positive perspective. Sarah, before we go, what's going on in Singapore? This gives us a good opportunity. What do you have coming up there? Are there some training courses going on in Asia? Just highlight those real fast.
Absolutely. So the next one in Singapore is now scheduled in January. So we've got we were supposed to have one in November, but we had one of our previous coaches who booked out a whole in-house session for the team members. So they booked out 21 people that will be coaching next month to go through the Strengths Finder course for one organization, which is fantastic. And then for others, for our open enrollment course, it's going to happen in the 3rd or the 4th week of January. The dates should be up within the next couple of days online. So do go online and you can register for it. We also will be launching a high performance management course early next year as well. And a plethora of courses that we are coming up for us from Gallup Singapore in 2015. So we are excited about what's in store. And also our whole ecosystem of our coaches is growing, and they're doing some phenomenal work out there in the industry out there. So excited to be part of this movement.
Very good. We are super excited about what's going on in Singapore. It's kind of fun to be a part of this for the last year or so. We've been talking into Singapore, and for me, it's a great connection as I've gotten to know you guys from the U.S. and into Singapore. A great medium to be able to do that. And so we're excited what's going on there. We also have, if you haven't checked it out, if you're listening to the recorded version of this, we have a brand new entrepreneurial Strengths Finder book that just launched. And so can they get that in Singapore right now? Sorry, is that shipping yet?
I would say over the course of next couple of weeks is what we'll get to know more about that. So hopefully people can get access to it straight away. But they can go online. Investment either way. So
you bet. It's available here in the U.S. on Amazon right now, and so if you're listening to this, we'll get a lot of U.S. listeners to listen to this as well. You can purchase that right now through our Amazon link, and just search Entrepreneurial Strengths Finder. I think it's going like gangbusters. So that's a whole nother show that we'll have to get started once we get going, because there's some great stuff in there. I'll remind you to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strengths Center. So just go out to GallupStrengthsCenter.com, and that Entrepreneurial Strengths Finder is in the Strengths Center. You can see that in there if you'd like as well. And if you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to be a guest blogger, we do have spots for guest bloggers on our coach's blog. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, and you can also watch the recorded audio and video of this program as well as past ones, and all the links are available out for Facebook, YouTube, and everything else we do for Gallup. All these resources we make available for you out at coaching.gallup.com. We do have a brand new Android app as well that is out. So lots of new things coming out. This is great. The Strengths movement is on its way. And so if you want to get access to that, we will post that in the show notes as well. Or really just go to the Google Play Store or the iOS at the Apple Store and search for Strengths Finder. So we want to thank everyone for joining us this evening or today there for you guys. And I want to welcome you back in another month. We'll have another Call to Coach. Goodbye, everybody.